you're sitting in.
Yeah. No, it looks good.
I mean,
all right. We should be live now. We're getting ourselves settled in and making it happen.
Sorry.
Here's a beer. So we can all crack a beer to get rolling.
yeah.
Oh, you brought one.
Anniversary week. I had to bring the first one we canned here.
It's a good idea.
So
I brought Forget Me Not, which is what we're working on here as a limited release this week.
Nice.
What are you guys drinking?
Well, I'm at City Built Brewing downtown Grand Rapids right now, and I've got Ease Your Storm, which is milkshake IPA.
Nice.
And they've got just a gorgeous label. I'm trying to get it out of the glare, but so you can see it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Say hello to Eddie for us if you run into him while you're there.
I will. He had to leave, otherwise I would have had him pop in and say hi.
Great.
Fantastic. Well, we're getting a few folks I see joined us. So welcome to Beers, Cheers, and Happenings. Emily, I'm going to go ahead and mute you. Welcome to Beers, Cheers, and Happenings. I'm Peter, and this is Steve, and then we have Emily, our sales rep. We're all from Beards, and then we have, of course, our guest today, Steph from Mitten Brew. Welcome.
Hi, Steph.
Hello. How's it going?
Great. Nice to meet you. We've never met, you and I.
No, but this will be our first time.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Emily, I'm going to let you control your mute so I don't have to unmute you when you want to talk. So
that's totally fine. Yep, heard on this end.
Sounds like there's a lightsaber fight going on behind you.
It does.
Right.
It does.
That's the basement brewery sound. So it's very legit down here.
Uh-huh.
We got the authentic brewery background. You got the authentic brewery noise. So, all right. Well, I think let's roll into it here. It's exciting to have you today, Steph. Why don't you give us just a quick background of how you got into it? It sounds like you've done a lot of things, but how you landed at Mitten Brew and ended up, it sounds like you ended up kind of taking it over, but you didn't start it originally. If I'm
right.
correct
Yeah. It's actually, it's quite a long story, but so I'll just try to give you like the short version. I've been a photographer for 19 years and wanted to shift what I was shooting. I wanted to start photographing beer and food and get into that scene. And Grand Rapids is really starting to, get hopping with their beer scene, 8 years ago. And so I sort of jumped onto that, started meeting people, going into locations and shooting and just following people around and meeting as many people as I could. And in 2013, I reached out to Mitten Brew just so I could photograph and get experience, and got really locked in with Brian, who started it. And, we just sort of took it and ran with it. And in 2015, he decided he wanted to step down, and I took over. And it's grown, and we've even brought in a marketing side to it, where we help breweries with their social media and their websites and all of their content creation online. And we still offer an editorial side, cover beer releases and events when we can have them. Now we're not having them right now, but so it's sort of this big mass of project.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of things going on. So
yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it sounds like that was definitely a whirlwind. I imagine there was a lot going into all those steps that you just breezed by.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe just for everyone listening, Emily, if you want to give a little touch point, you write for Mitten Brew. How did you get connected?
I love going all the way back to those kinds of memories.
I know, that was a long time ago.
I know it was. I was just a wee craft beer baby when I met Steph. So it all kind of happened at once too. I started drinking Beards beer, and then I fell in love with craft beer, and I happened to be an English major. So I tripped across Mitten Brew in general and Steph through Fermenta, which is one of our other organizations that we kind of all share membership and accolades with, which is the Women's Craft Collective. And they kind of sent me to Steph's way, and she actually interviewed me for an internship position writing.
Beer turn.
Yeah, I remember you interviewed me at Brewery Vivant, wasn't it?
Yes, I think. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It was you and Tiffany, one of the staff writers at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was our first meeting. It was great. You guys talked like so much about how passionate you were about craft beer. It was the beginning of the craze of beer events.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Combining the beer scene with traveling and food and like the communities. So you sent me out into the wild to cover. I was in Kalamazoo one night. I volunteered to go to, up north, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Southeast Michigan, and that's kind of how we met and how I got started with Mitten Brew.
Well, that's a good story. It's fun to have someone involved on our staff, which has given us, on the brewery staff, it's given us a little bit of a peek into it. What is, tell me a little bit more about, Steph, your photography. I think is really cool. And I think that's a unique angle maybe to come to publishing from a photography background. Because obviously photography is a big part of it, but I always think of a publisher as going to be like the writer or someone who is, really wordy. And I'm not saying you're not. I don't know your history in that, but I know that
I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. I'm the visual person. That's why I love surrounding myself with wonderful people like Emily, because they have the words.
Awesome.
It's. I guess I just sort of take a little bit more of a unique perspective when it comes to my photography. It's, like just not that picture of a glass of beer. I don't know, it's sort of hard to explain. I just sort of jumped into it and was just trying to find more unique situations to show off the product and to show off the people.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously the people, make the industry what it is. And once I really got into it and just started going, and we really had a nice collaboration with a lot of the writers that we had on staff, where there was just a real good balance with the words and the visuals, and the visuals sort of help sell the site. If somebody's maybe they only skim or they don't read all the stories, at least they're getting a really good visual when they come to the site.
Well, those visuals tell the story too, right?
Yep,
and
exactly.
Especially for like us lazy humans who just like to feed our eyes.
Like to scroll.
Feed our eyes with words too. But a picture will stop you in your tracks,
Mm-hmm, yeah. So the site has always had a really good balance of both of those things. And we've got lots of compliments on it, which is good to hear. It's not a site that makes money. It's not like we have a lot of advertising or anything like that on it. It's really done purely for the love of the industry and just wanting to support those here in the state.
Well, that's really cool. And I think, some of that's what we try to do with our live show and different things. Obviously we sell products too, but a lot of this is bonus because we like the industry and we want to support what people are doing. I'm going to do a couple of quick shout outs to viewers here. This must be someone you know.
Yeah. How's it going, man?
And if you do have questions or comments you'd like us to address, please throw those in the chat. We also got a nice one from Carrie here. Said she's huge fans of beards because of a trip to Petoskey. And I don't know, maybe she heard about us in Mitten Brew. I don't know. But I know we've had nice write-ups there, and we appreciate the support. Thanks for watching, and thanks for visiting our pub.
Shout out to the Hoosier State.
Yeah. So if anyone else has questions, and please throw them in the comments. We love to address questions. And
sometimes we even give away Peter's shirt.
Sometimes, but not this shirt.
Tonight, but
not
sometimes.
because this is just my shirt that I like to wear.
It's always a new shirt, just to be clear. But
good.
Yeah,
you never know. That's all I'm saying.
This shirt actually kind of fits with. I could go to this background. Look at the colors.
Right, little sunset. Yeah.
Look at that. It's like a sunset shirt. Huh. Maybe we'll stick on that for a while. So how did you get into photography and like what drew you into it and what do you really love about photography?
Well, my dad is a photographer. And so it's something I've just always been around. Did some classes in college, that kind of thing. And it was, my son was a year old and it was just something I decided I wanted to shift to do. At the time, having a young child at home, I photographed children and families because it just sort of went with my lifestyle at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he grew up and I started changing what I was, shooting, and just food and beer really interests me. But not having any experience in it whatsoever, other than consuming it, I really had to do a lot of hard work to try to get in there and figure out how to, make good images.
Yeah, so you were specifically kind of drawn to the food and beer photography right from the get-go. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
And that makes such a good pairing then by the time you get to Mitten Brew, which is really, looking at it, it's not just breweries, it's you guys kind of celebrate Michigan craft, and what's going on in the craft scene in Michigan, which I think is a great angle to take and something we talk a lot about because that's what gets us excited about what we do, and it gets us excited about what other people are doing even outside of beer.
Oh, right, exactly. And the craft beverage scene is changed immensely. So, when you start adding in, cider and seltzers and cocktails and, all the new things that are, coming to the front, it's all craft. And so it's, the audience, it's just changing, which is really cool because there's more to talk about.
Yeah. Variety is always nice.
Yeah. And speaking of variety, Emily, what are you drinking there?
We got a hop water.
It looks like
let me unmute. So I've got our new latest and greatest hop water. Sorry, let me twirl here. Sorry, it's like a mirror. Okay, I can't always rotate. So I'm drinking our new Michigan hop water, which we're super pumped about. It's an NA carbonated beverage made with Great Lakes water and Michigan copper hops. You can drink it just as it is, like a bubbly or a LaCroix, or it's a great mixer as well with spirits, if you're of the alcoholic persuasion.
Yeah.
Now, is that going to go out to your distribution footprint?
We are kind of experimenting with it right now.
Okay.
Self-distribution. So if anyone's watching who wants some, you can get it online through our Beards Brewery online shop.
Very cool.
You can also shoot Emily a text if you have her number, and she'll bring you some.
Okay.
But yeah, and if you are a store or work in a store, you can order through me as well. So
very cool. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'll bring you some.
Yes, please. I'd really like to try it. I tried a couple of hop waters that I really liked.
Okay.
Good to hear it. We're wondering, it's kind of a new product for us, so we're wondering who the customer is, who's had it.
Right, yeah.
Friends?
What?
Is that one of your friends we're hearing?
I
thought I heard a cat.
Yeah, it sounded like a cat, but I can't.
I must want for some forgiveness. I must have heard of that.
Yeah, they were looking for the beer.
Yeah. So, Steph, you said you grew up with a photographer father. I too did. My grandfather as well. So I was wondering, like myself, did you go through the whole transition then of developing actual film at home? Like I had dark rooms in my house.
And very cool.
Yeah, before digital and stuff. So I would as a young lad develop photographs with my father at home and my grandfather stuff. Did you go through any of that transition yourself, or did you miss that era?
Well, no, in high school, I was in the dark room in high school and in early college. I had those experiences at school, not necessarily at home. So my dad was his freelance, and he traveled all over the world.
Oh, wow.
So most of his work was traveling and then dropping off film, to a client.
Okay.
And it was interesting when digital started to happen, when regular photographers can start to implement digital into their workload. We did it at the same time. Like we both got cameras and learned how to shoot digital at the same time. So it was quite interesting.
Yeah.
My father, he never made the transition. He couldn't do it. It was like a big move for him to get a camera. I think it showed him as opposed to just being the picture window. You put your eye and it showed him an image, but it was still film.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He
but a mirror.
Yeah.
Reflective. Very interesting. It looks like we have a personal question here for Emily and Steph. How many Pliny the Elders did you consume at the Craft Brewers Conference?
Too many. Well, not really, but
just enough.
I was going to say, Steph,
enough.
do you want to take that one or me? So I guess besides Tara, because Tara knows what happened that night, for everyone who's listening, one of Steph and I's, kind of favorite past adventures and opportunities Mitten Brew afforded both of us. We got to go to craft beer conference with media passes, so we could cover the events, take photos, write some articles, inform those interested parties who may not get to attend. And the craft beer conference is a national convention held every year. For those industry folk, there's seminars, there's drinking. And annually.
But mostly seminars, right?
Seminars.
Mostly seminars.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. The year I got to go with Steph, it was in Philadelphia. So we had a lot of fun. We road tripped out there from Michigan. We were joined by other lady craft beer enthusiasts and staff. And I had a wonderful evening. And one of our friends was a Philadelphia local, so she was kind of our guidepost as well.
Yes, which was excellent.
It was good times, good memories. So thank you, Tara, for bringing those up.
And what happened to the parking ticket?
I parked my car in a ramp the whole time we were there.
Oh.
And then couldn't find the ticket when we had to leave.
Has it ever been located?
And actually, I did end up finding it. I had put away a special spot in my wallet so that I wouldn't lose it.
There you go.
But then forgot about this special spot. So. Fortunately, it all ended well. We got out of the ramp, and
Great.
So, but
that's always how it goes. You're like, this is going to be a really good, safe spot, and then you are like, oh shoot, I forgot where that really good, safe spot is.
Right. Yeah. But that event's so cool because the host city, all of the bars and the breweries, they all have these big, huge events and bring out the best offerings they have. And so it's a really great opportunity to try, new beverages or, beers that you know about, but you just can't get them. Nowadays it's obviously a lot easier to get beer from parts of the country that don't distribute here because of the sites that you can buy from beer trading and all that kind of stuff. But the event is really cool, and it's too bad that it obviously had to get canceled this year. So
So speaking of that, like you obviously travel a lot. That's a big component, I think, of writing about beer, trying different things. So how has that changed for you and the staff? In light of COVID, like how'd you guys pivot? What are you doing different? How are you tackling writing stories and that kind of stuff?
Well, it's phone interviews. Images are difficult. We've had people send in their own. So it's not exactly what we had, would have put out in the past. But it's just sort of what we can do right now. Right. And a lot of places have really slowed. So it's not that there aren't stories out there. There are just less, because of what's going on. Actually, Emily did, her recent story about how you guys had to shift and what had to happen. That was, I really like, you can have, a journalist go out and write about how locations had to do it, but when you have somebody from the inside writing from a personal perspective, I just think it put a lot more heart behind it. And she's done other stories like that from, it was Winter Beer Fest. It was from behind the table, being a beer representative and what it's like to attend an event like that instead of, having a writer attend the event and drinking. So that's been nice to have her on staff to do those things because it's a completely different perspective, which is cool.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about putting the team together and like the team you have, like the different specialties and things, how you kind of pick those people? Like maybe Emily, you picked, this is good because she's a good writer, but she's in the industry in maybe a way that other writers are just writing about it, but she's actually part of doing the work.
Right. Everybody that is involved with Mitten Brew is in the industry at some point.
Okay.
Maybe they work for a brewery, and obviously if they work for a brewery, we're open about that, so that
transparency.
Exactly. But maybe they're bartenders or work for also an industry organization. One of my writers works for Cold Break, which does jock boxes. So everybody has their hand in it, somewhere. So I think that also gives them a better perspective on the industry, because they're not just, beer consumers, but they are, more involved.
They're practitioners.
Yeah, and all of these people came to me, or we just met. And some people like Emily, who was very fresh when she first started, writing. So it just gave her good experience to write, and then to have to work with an editor, making adjustments to your story and how this whole process works. And then some people are very experienced, and they can just sort of jump in and, and do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is the team mostly freelance people, or is it full time? I mean,
it's freelance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not staff per se.
So I think,
yeah.
Yeah, and so that kind of makes sense too. You're finding people that are in the industry, because they're natural connections of finding stories and leads. I mean, obviously, if they're not full time, they can't just be out scouting those, but a lot of them will fall into their lap more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And we've got some new work that's going to be coming out that's more of a national coverage.
Okay.
Oh, wow, that's exciting.
So we're going through some changes. And one of that is going to be expanding the products that we're talking about. It's definitely going to be more than just beer.
Okay.
And it's going to stretch outside of our, out of our state, which doesn't, by any means, Michigan, of course, is important, and that's our first love.
Yeah.
But there's a lot out there to drink, and a lot to talk about, and a lot that happens in the scene that affects Michigan. Somebody coming here with their beverage, or a Michigan location going out of the state and doing something really cool with it. Or collaborating. So collaborations are huge right now. And so we have so many Michigan people collaborating outside the state. Yeah,
I think you have to, you have to kind of look at the broader perspective. That makes a lot of sense. And kind of how you laid out, we don't operate in isolation. So it's hard to talk about with things going on here without it branching out or things coming back in. So I think that's a great idea.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have other ways that you see, I guess that's kind of talking a little bit about the future, where you see the thing going? Are there other ideas and things that you see maybe way out there that you'd like to do with Mitten Brew, or?
I like the way the editorial sits right now. I mean, there are many online publications that cover beer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good ones. And then there's just a ton of regular beer blogs. I don't think that we necessarily need to offer some new perspective that somebody hasn't covered. I think it's great when you see great editorial. I share other editorial, on our social media. But we really sort of gotten to the point where we are, pushing the new beverages that are coming out, because even small breweries are constantly changing what they're making and packaging. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot of new beer to talk about, and the trends keep coming on, and the trends are actually some of the most interesting things to talk about, because they're typically very polarized, because you got, the whole seltzer thing.
Yeah.
Some people are just so against it. And then others aren't. So, there's a lot to talk about, even just with the offerings, regardless of new locations opening up, the intimate stories that come from the owners or the brewers or anything. So, but yeah, so, and Emily and I have been going back and forth about this. So I am going through a name change.
Oh.
A brand name change.
A rebranding.
I know Emily's making a face. She's like, so since the beginning, because of the Mitten Brewing Company here in Grand Rapids.
Right.
Yeah.
So since the beginning, there's always been a customer confusion with our name.
Yeah.
People think that we are each other.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where on my Google, I get 5-star ratings for my pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get tagged as each other on social media. And typically people tag me because my handle shows up first. And so I almost changed the name of Mitten Brew when I took it on in 2015, but it honestly I couldn't come up with another name that described what it was that we were doing. But now, because of the beverage industry is expanding and we want to start talking about more outside the state, I wanted to gear away from a name that was very Michigan centric, because Mitten really only makes sense to us.
I was wondering, that was my first thought when you said you were going to go for bigger, talk more nationally. I was like, I wonder if Mitten Brew, if the name makes sense, but yeah.
And so the new name is going to be Drinkable.
Oh, I like it.
So
nice. You heard it here first.
Okay. Yeah.
So
breaking news.
Drinkable. So there is a landing page website, drinkable.com, that you can go to and sign up for, updates. And what happened was I was supposed to make this announcement right after Winter Beer Fest. And then COVID happened. And all that was in the news was obviously what was going on with the pandemic. So I didn't feel it was the right time to start talking about it. And there was just other things that we needed to be focusing on. And plus my work was affected. So I've just sort of had it sitting and waiting. The website's there.
Yeah.
All of the old Mitten Brew content will transfer over to the new site. So it will still be there. So even your old stories will still be there. They just, my website person has to do all the wonderful linking and changing. Everything is busy. So, I'm really excited. I'm bummed that I wasn't able to do a big, huge announcement like I had planned. And the Mitten Brewing guys have been extremely supportive. They are, whatever they need to do to help make an announcement for the name change. We were going to brew a beer together and have a release party, but that's not going to happen.
That's super exciting news. Thanks for sharing.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we all feel honored that you broke the news here. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Mitten Brew turning to drinkable.
Yes.
Drinkable.
Congratulations.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about it.
Emily, do you want to type that in the comments? And then, so if people want to sign up so that they make sure they follow along the transition, that'd be great.
We'll be pushing it. We'll be pushing it out soon, but it just wasn't the right time for something like that. And people
want to sign up.
Come on, Emily. Just kidding. I'm joking.
I'm muted you here.
I usually do that to start every show.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I want to make sure I see the comments. I'm like, I got to turn my volume off.
Yep. So, so that's, I want to go back just a minute. And for those watching, if you have questions, please throw them in the comments. We'd love to answer those. We have Steph from Mitten Brew, soon to be drinkable. Exciting news.
Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news. You had mentioned, beverage trends, wanting to cover a little bit more. What do you see? What is the most exciting thing you're seeing right now in the industry? What gets you excited about where things are going and what the future is for the beverage? It's a big question. I know.
What I like to see, and this goes to the big fight of, what is craft, is obviously there's trends. I mean, there's trends with any type of industry, but I like when the trend happens and then a location will take that trend and make it their own.
Yeah.
So, and I hate to bring up seltzers again, but I will. It's the seltzer thing happened because of the big brands. And then you have these small locations that started making seltzer, but then they would make it either, if they were going to drink a seltzer, what they would drink, or they would change it and really make it, honestly, an amazing beverage to drink. And then then you finally see, like, Founders finally made a seltzer and they're finally canning it. And it's a takeoff of Mas Agave, which is an excellent idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but I'm sure it's delicious. I love Mas Agave. And so it's making it your own. And so you are following of the trends and bringing it into your own house and making it yours. And that's what I love to see, because then again shows the creativity of the industries and the brewers and what they're doing. Even if they may fight it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's important.
They all are.
I'm not a huge seltzer person, but I think that what you said is exactly. We've talked a lot about that. How do we take the concept and make it something that we can be proud of and that fits what we're doing? And I think the good news of that is also of seltzer as an idea is I think it's good to see that there's still new creative ideas coming out. We're not just stagnating back to, the whole idea of craft beer, I feel like so much of it was getting in to making new stuff, right? A lot of followers are there because what do we call them, Emily? Promiscuous buyers. But I think that's that's why most of us got into it, was to try different things. I mean, we're promiscuous buyers because we didn't want to just drink the same beer over and over again. So,
and that's what beer does. It cycles between styles. What becomes popular, and then it loops back around, and plus to the level of the drinker and what they, what they're doing.
Yeah. So very exciting. We also had a congratulations to you from Andrew. Good for you. Can't wait.
Man. I know I need to come out. So Andrew is the brewer at Two Guys in Wyoming. Here in here in the Grand Rapids area. So it's been a while since I've seen them, so I do need to come out and see you.
Well, thanks for watching, Andrew, and we'll have to get down there next time we're in your neck of the woods.
They're doing a really great job, and their food is excellent as well. So
awesome.
We like excellent food.
Yeah, I think that's again goes back to craft is it's the whole experience. So food is a big part of that.
Yeah, I think that when you offer a craft beverage, people expect that from your food. So you have to have a balance of the two.
Yeah.
And I always get thirsty, and I always get hungry.
So it's always a good fallback.
It is.
Have somewhere to go. Emily, did you have some specific questions? I know you had prepared a little bit, so I wanted to give you an opportunity here.
Here, guys, I'm shifting. I'm getting in a sunspot. I'm going to shift my laptop here.
Sure thing.
Go for it, girl. You can. It's a bonus to virtual meetings.
There we go. That's better. There you go.
No, I think you guys have had a great conversation so far about talking about kind of local and how that's expanded, into not only, Mitten Brew going from Michigan to national, but also inside Michigan itself, how, Steph very much, Southwest Grand Rapids, Michigan centric. And from there, you kind of expanded the knowledge base, the coverage, the connections. So I guess one of my questions for you was, amongst all your traveling and getting ready to kind of go more national, part one, how is Michigan unique in that conversation, and how is it kind of influenced, and has it influenced craft nationally, do you think?
I think Michigan's beer scene is unique in the level of collaboration and community that it creates with the industry folks, and also with the drinkers. But I think that for why I see, because I see a lot of the, back of the house, everybody works really well together, as in if you need something, you need help, advice, I think the Michigan beer scene definitely stands out as unique. And as far as how everybody just, plays well in the pool together, it's in the areas where that is definitely not the case.
Okay. Let's name those areas. No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
We're not naming names.
We're not naming names.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's like Midwest nice, what it is.
It
is, or it's also too, it's like if you have 5 breweries close to each other and they all do well, then everybody does even better.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to compete for that dollar. It's like most likely if somebody comes and you're all great, they're going to go and see all of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then that just makes the whole scene even better. And Michigan has a really good grasp on that.
The community of it.
You all, of course, want to make the better beer, but
there's gotta be some healthy competition.
There has to, but it's healthy competition, and it's not necessarily so much of a scratching and clawing to try to be that first in line or get that medal or
No,
whatever. So
it's just a good, healthy, you know, somebody hits 20 home runs, you want to hit 25.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And every area of the state is sort of unique, I think, in how they operate. Well, how many breweries they have. You know, obviously there's less up north, but even the ones down here, you know, that learn about you guys farther north, or even all up into the UP, finding out what's going on, and when they can, you know, visit each other's locations, bringing beer and sharing, and I don't know, it's a really great thing.
I remember when we first got going, I was like, man, I don't have to buy beer anymore, because everybody that stops by brings like a case of beer. I was like, I can't even drink all this beer. Let's just like send it home with the staff. Like, and it's like the community was welcoming and generous with, you know, that was like the thing. You go visit a new brewery, like you drop a growler off, or you drop a case off, you know, you drop whatever you're doing that's doing exciting, or whatever is even core, and you just, it's that, you know, you want to share it. And that probably comes a little bit from the home brewing background too. I mean, I think that's what home brewers do. I think it's a
creator thing. Like all my, like I'm a visual artist too, Steph. So like all my friends that like, we like showing each other our paintings, and we like seeing the processes.
Yeah.
Like, how do you paint? How do you get to your end game? You know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it's more of a creator thing than just something that's, you know, just the craft beer industry, obviously. But I think it's, I don't know, because I think when you stretch your mind that way, you seek out other people's that are taking the same route, you know?
Yeah. I mean? And I think part of it is you want to give something because you want to get a little something back that causes you to stretch, right? And think differently, right? So it's like, hey, look what I'm doing. And you're hoping that they'll say, look what I'm doing. Then you're like, wow, I never thought about that. Or like, I'd like to do that a little different, you know?
Definitely an inspiration, you know, level. So.
Yeah.
You can never have too much of that.
On that note, just in regards to, you know, kind of blending all the different types of art with craft beer, I think it can be said that craft beer has kind of, you know, kind of invaded its way into, you know, outside the brewery and outside the restaurant. It's also, you know, in our fundraisers, it's in our exercise.
It's a bit everywhere. Of a glue. You know, it's a bit of a glue that brings things together.
Right. Yeah.
And that makes me think of, Steph, I wanted to bring it up, but especially on our What's Our Craft show, how you were able to kind of bring craft beer to Art Prize in Grand Rapids.
I photographed the female brewers.
Yeah. Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah. So I participated in Art Prize in 2015. Okay. What I did is I just did portraits of some of the female brewers, mostly in our area. And, you know, it's like this with anybody that is in a brewer house. You are dressed a certain way, and you have a ball cap on, you have your hair pulled back or whatever. I wasn't trying to do like glamour shots with these women. But it was through taking them out of the brewer house and doing a beautiful portrait of them. And then we have a little bios of each one and where they worked. And it was interesting when I did it, a lot of the response I got was, you know, there's actually a lot of women brewers.
Right.
Like people just didn't even know it was even, you know, I'm like, it's even more than these 6. So it was really interesting to see the feedback that I got from it. Regardless of the portraits themselves, the portraits was just a way to communicate information, which is what I do on MittenBrew. I have my beautiful visuals, and it's just a way to communicate them the written word, because the visuals can attract the eye first.
Yeah.
And then you can read about it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it was so much fun to do, because a couple of them I actually was really good friends with. So it was, it's fun. And then to be able to take these women that I know and love and be able, when you can give someone a wonderful portrait of themselves and they like it, it's a really great gift. It makes you feel good and fuzzy inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so it was great to be able to do that for some of my, women friends.
Yeah, it's very uplifting,
Yeah.
Now,
absolutely.
Is that collection online somewhere if anybody that's watching or myself that wants to go look at this afterwards?
It's on it's on my Instagram for sure. And it's still on my website. And actually the art prize site.
What would your Instagram handle be if you don't mind, if you want to give that out?
Steph Harding photos.
Okay.
Great.
Yep. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. I keep getting in this sunspot. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's all right. The sun just follows you, I just want to shine down
it's the light.
on you.
It's the light.
What are you supposed to do?
There is something about the image that can bring a positive. There's a nonprofit I work with, and they were making snippets of stories of things that they were doing, and this one guy they had followed around was doing something really cool. He would take homeless people, bring them in, like give them a shower, clean them up, and take like a really nice photograph of them. Or paint. I can't remember if he was doing photographs or like paintings, and then he'd show it to him and give it to him. And, they're like, wow, I never thought someone could see me like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. And it changed their identity or their idea of worth,
perception. Themselves, right.
Yeah. So I think that's a powerful thing. And I think a lot of times people, some brewers are also like front people, but I think a lot of brewers are more maybe introverted and maybe for female brewers who aren't as well known, like they don't necessarily, they're interested in the beer, just like a male brewer would be, and they don't want to get the attention always for being like, they don't want to be the groundbreaking person, maybe, because they're more introverted and interested in doing their beer thing, right? Like that's what they're passionate about. So it's not, it takes someone to highlight it and say, no, this is cool. And it's like, you're a part of this community and people need to know that,
Right. And it's, they are back there and they just want to be known for doing their job, not for being a female brewer.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So that's typically what it comes down to.
Yeah.
They don't want to stick out as the token, female.
Well, that's what I was saying. I think they might be,
see that.
They don't want to necessarily be the person that's like, not the martyr, but for lack of better term, saying like, hey, so anyways, because they got into it because they're passionate about the beer, like all of the rest of us. They
didn't set out to be a female brewer. They just wanted to be
right. Exactly.
When you talk about brewers, you always say brewer.
Yeah.
And you assume it's a guy. So to differentiate, you have to say female brewer.
Well, I think what you did brought light to the fact
that.
Yeah, what you did brought light to the fact that there are females in the industry. I would have to guess, this is me with having, no numbers in front of me or whatever. I would have to guess the percentage is still fairly low overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So another thing that this does is it shows the younger girl or not even an age thing. It shows the woman that might be interested in getting in that. Maybe that's not for me because it's a male dominated thing. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's great that brings that side of things to light and
Mm-hmm.
Yep, in our What's Your Craft episode where we had the rally team, Lake Effect Rally, and it's a husband-wife team, and the co-driver, she's female, and she was saying, that she's thought it's cool because a rally, again, like a motorsports is considered very male and masculine, but she would have younger females come to the rallies and say, that's my car, and like look up to that fact that she was out there doing it and saying like, hey, I can go do it. So I think you need that, and you do need to feature it and highlight it to bring that inspiration. It's just like we were talking about, I go to a brewery and bring my beer, and they like it because they like seeing what else is going on, being inspired by it, right?
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm.
All right. Very good. Emily, you have great questions. They get us all going.
Yeah. I do have another one just because Steph has some great insights.
There's that
Peter and I
handle. Sorry, I'm just throwing that up there.
Thanks.
Check it out. Obviously internally the Beards team has been, trying to be creative and trying to plan long term, but there's not a lot of long planning you're able to do right now. But one of the biggest topics obviously are events, and what it used to be like the lifeblood of craft beer, where all of those events Now, to be fair, probably in the last couple of years, and I'm not sure if you agree or not, I think we can admit there's been some event fatigue.
Oh, I'm with you on that one.
Too many craft beer festivals, or just too many, rushed, put together, where sometimes it's like we forgot why we did this in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
Not, obviously the pandemic is not a good thing, but is there a silver lining, do you think, to the point where at the end of this road, people will, be passionate about events or looking for new avenues for events? Do you think they'll come back? Will they change?
I think the pandemic is going to basically be the filter. It's going to completely minimize events. Yeah, because I think breweries were using events as to draw the customer into them. Mm-hmm. That's how they kept staying in front of the customer's face, was by an event. And that's not really sustainable, because there were so many events that, and even the events where, here you got a $40 ticket and you got all of these breweries that are there, but it got to the point where nobody was even bringing anything special. Remember Winter Beer Fest used to be like, where everything that was there, you couldn't even go to the tap room and try it there.
Okay.
And so events, I think, are going to go way down on the totem pole as far as a way to communicate and keep your customers, because now everybody has to, I think, selling your beer out of your tap room is coming to the top. That was already a trend that was happening in 2019, but now it's out of tap room sales it's going to be huge. It's going to be the lifeblood, because what if we get shut down again?
Yeah.
And then what if this happens again? Mm-hmm. And what if next summer, next spring, it happens again? And so locations are going to find out that events are a secondary, or even third or fourth, on the list of, how we bring people into our tap room. Mm-hmm. Because, there were so many locations that I know, at least locally, that's how they made their money, were those nights. And you got to be able to bring people in otherwise. Yeah. So, I think big festivals, the guild, like here in our state, the guild festivals, I think when they come back, they will probably be better than ever, because they were the big ones. Mm-hmm. And obviously they need those festivals to survive as a business organization, the guild.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of these small ones, they're going to realize, we really didn't need to have that event, once a month to be able to get people in our tap room. If we communicated correctly and provided a better product or more, they're going to show up anyway. Mm-hmm. We don't have to entice them with this. I think it's going to make a big, huge shift in the way we do things, which is fine with me. There were so many events, and honestly, 3/4 of them were okay.
Yeah.
The funnest part about it was I get to walk around and meet people, or get to talk to people that I typically wouldn't see, because the brewers would come to this one location. So I then get to walk around to all the tables. Hey, haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
But as a consumer, as a consumer, you're walking around and going, well, I have all these tickets, but I've seen that at Sushi's. I've seen that at Siciliano's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
No. Great answer. Yeah, it's been going on for a while, but it's interesting to see it from, someone else's perspective as well, especially on the marketing and publishing side.
Yeah.
I remember, 5 years ago, Steph, when I started, just as a beer turn, we were trying to get people to cover every that was
every
popping
event.
Up. It was so exciting.
Yeah.
Is that a paid position?
Yeah,
I think it's a natural evolution.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Too much of anything will choke you out.
Absolutely. So
and I think people didn't know how to shift away from having events, and just
to other options. The
pandemic gave them no other choice.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely a silver lining in my opinion.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well,
we were definitely hit too we were already mandating Emily to reduce events because it just is not sustainable. And we always only participated in events we sent people to, but you see, it's fun to go around and see people. I mean, I was seeing more and more people weren't even, I mean, you might, especially at smaller things, it's just a distributor rep, you know, or it's a random volunteer. So to me, that's like disingenuous to what the industry was about, which was so personal, right? And I'd rather see some high quality events with really good participation from the breweries than spreading everybody too thin. So
exactly. Well,
and if you're watching along, what do you think? Did you get event fatigue? Throw a comment out there. Let us know. If you got any other questions, we'll probably be going just another 5-10 minutes here. So if you're watching and you're like burning question, I got to get this out there. Please throw it in the comments so we can and see
as the sun sets through the blinds.
Yeah, I
know. I can see it on your face.
I have to pull that curtain.
I can pull the curtain.
No, well, I'm gonna ride this one out.
You're gonna ride it out.
I got 2 good corneas still.
Okay,
I'm gonna roll the dice.
Just give it a shot. Well, you know what I say. If you got a lot of good choices, go with all of them.
Go with all of them. That's
right. What I say 2 days ago.
I was going to say, you just started saying that.
That's my new saying.
But he said it technically.
I said it, so.
Yeah.
You did.
Emily, you have anything else you want to run, or?
Yeah, I've got one, for Steph, of course, our guest of honor, but I think Steve, our in-house artist extraordinaire, could also add a little to this. You're both parents of, you're an artist with children.
Yep.
Steph, I know, your son is, going to art school and becoming his own artist and his own identity.
Where's he at?
The two of you, and of course, Steph, what do you have advice-wise, for upcoming artists, whether it's fine art, graphic design, visual arts, photography, all of it? Obviously you guys have the wording.
Yeah, gave me the curtain, bro.
Yeah, he's going to QCS in Detroit.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. What's he specializing in, or what kind of direction is he heading?
Entertainment arts is his major, so game creation.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, it's like really cool. Like, his department head, worked on the Avengers movies.
Oh wow! Yeah, special effects.
Like his department head was literally responsible for the gloves.
Okay.
So it's some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I'm very proud of them.
It's good to have teachers that are connected a little bit like that and can
exactly. Well, and that's the thing. Connections do a lot for you, like they do in most jobs.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, everybody is a starving artist at some point. And it's through connections that you can move along. And that's what when I started shifting my photography and what I was doing, that's what I had to do. I had to create connections. And now I have a lot of them, but it's not that I don't. I enjoy all of these friendships that I made, but I had to work to create connections to be able to work, as a job, not just to go and show up somewhere and drink and enjoy, the friends I made.
Yeah.
So, but it's harder and harder. It's easy to be a creative because humans are creative. To make money from it is becoming more and more difficult because the skills that we have that we're trying to, make money with can more and more be replicated. So, like, I'm a photographer. iPhones are awesome. And I think I use my iPhone a lot for a lot of things.
Yeah.
But now places and businesses can take it upon themselves to do some of their own photography because the technology is so awesome.
Yeah.
You no longer need the person that can shoot photography manually to create, honestly, a beautiful image. I've seen wonderful images that have come off my iPhone.
But however, I will say you still have to make a good composition. You still have to find your angle. You still have to, know your light. Even in the editing thing, that's me. What you're talking about is me. I don't have any fancy cameras. I make most of my videos and photographs with a phone. It was an Android before, but now I have an iPhone. But if I put the same phone in my wife's hand and we both go shoot the same subject, you're going to get two very different outcomes.
Yes, definitely.
Poor
But
example, Steve.
Why? I love you, Courtney. You're the best. No, I think Courtney's will be better. Hers are much better than mine. I just want to clarify that. I love you, baby. She cooks.
She does great work on her own.
But no, I know what you're saying. Photography, I have a lot of photography friends and stuff. But I think new tools push. You have to push the mind, and it pushes the creativity because you can still use it different. You can.
Well, and I love it because there's things that I can photograph that I can't do with my big camera.
Yeah.
Because I can't get in that position.
Yeah.
Physically, literally,
I use a fairly simple video editing software, and I've just found workarounds. Like if there's something I can't do on the first pass, I'll save a video, then I bring it back in and I layer it. You know what I mean? Like it's not the way it's built to work, but guess what? I don't have to use it the way it's instructional. It's the instructions say to use it. You can still bend the rules, which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, I love all the technology. I think everybody should use it as best as they can. But it just then makes it more difficult for those of us that are.
Yeah, it floods the market a little as far as to be able to have your images stand out here and
right.
there.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I do love that you guys, throughout that whole conversation, I just mentally replaced almost studying the arts with, studying beer a little bit. And just, the reason that we made this show that, Peter and Steve came up with this concept is the idea that, beer is a craft and we want it to connect to other forms of craft. And just as, there are so many more breweries and so many new ways of making beer, the same with, what you, Steph, and Steve were saying about art, how, it is more accessible, and it's great because that grows the world and the opportunities for not only making art, but for drinking beer. But there's also, you're looking for those experts or those experienced drinkers to kind of offer guidance and to always kind of push the envelope. So, we evolve to the next step. So you got a perfect conversation. Thank you.
Something else I would say I think technology has done is actually, and we talk about this a lot, quite a bit. I mean, quite frankly, is that it's created a desire for old ways. There's been a resurgence in like printmaking and art and stuff. Like there's even soaps, whatever you can think of. Obviously beer, but there's for everybody that can make a digital painting. There's probably more people doing that because we're kind of looking for the easy way out as humans to find. But like somebody that has to paint now, their painting is that much more unique. I think as more people dive into I think there's more people that are diving into technology than there are to just oil painting. There's more tablets now than there is oil painting. I feel like,
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's why I encourage my son with his drawing is to be able to draw on paper.
Yeah.
Right. And not just pull out his computer.
Yeah.
He does both. And I encouraged him to do both in all of his, like when in high school and into, college, that you need to be able to pull out a pencil and paper and draw. And not be able to have all your technology. I think you allow you to be creative.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with both because you can't resist it either, right?
Right.
Well, you can certainly find your niche or whatever, but I think both is definitely the way to go. And as far as advice goes, Emily, you kind of started this with advice for younger artists. I would say you kind of touched on this, but when a door opens for you, take it. Sometimes when you're early on, and if you can do it without getting paid for it, take it because that's going to open up another door. Each door is connected to the next door. And if you never take the projects because you either are scared, you don't have the confidence, you don't think your work is up to par yet, or you're inexperienced. I've never painted a mural in a high school gym before or whatever it might be. Just do it.
That's
what do it and do your best, and it's going to lead you to the next thing. If you don't do the first thing, you're never going to get to the next door.
Well, that's what my cousin Shredmaster, who's got he's built an online beer channel, or not beer, sorry, an online.
He's a shredder.
He's a shred guitar. But anyways, he was like, if you want to get into social media, people always asking me, he's like, just start putting it out there. He's like, the worst thing you can do is try to make the perfect thing and never get to go, right? And you'll make better and better things by doing it over and over again.
Well, and that's the thing, is you have to keep doing
and
it.
The stuff you made 6 months ago, probably no one's ever going to look at. So like, don't be like, oh no, I'm going to get famous then and people will see this horrible thing I did. I mean, the first live show we did was just me drinking a beer. No guest, no co-host, just me drinking a beer, talking. And I was, and then people started writing questions and I started answering them. Like, how did this beer come about? And I was like, wow, this is great. Questions are still my favorite thing. I was like, hope we can always get more of those. Questions. But it's getting started and getting reps, getting the repetitions in, getting it down, because the repetitions make you better and get you thinking about how you can do it better the next time and the next time. So,
and I would say, don't create art to look like something. I mean, we're all going to be influenced. We're going to see pictures, paint, whatever, but don't make stuff to look like somebody else's stuff. Do it your way, because honest, like you said earlier, Steph, like everything's kind of been done already. The only value we really bring is ourselves, like our own unique perspectives to things. If you don't have one, then you're a cookie cutter and you don't bring any value. It's already exists.
Yeah.
So don't overthink it. Just do. Just do it. And if you love it, you're going to keep doing it, and it'll lead to good things.
I think that's a good word to start winding up on. Unless there's any last big comments, I do want to throw this up one more time, Steph. Your Instagram handle for your photography, and people can follow you, of course, through Mitten Brew, and soon to be Drinkable. I believe. Let me see right here. Is that spelled correct?
Yes, that's spelled correct.
Okay, good. So please check it out. It's been great to have you on the Beers, Cheers, and Happening show.
Yes, great meeting you. Thank you.
We've all had to run away from the sun, so cheers.
Cheers to you.
I know.
And Drinkable. Here's the Drinkable's future. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Yeah.